We are going to talk a little bit about the CPU, or Central Processing Unit. You may also hear these called other names like processor or microprocessor, but today I'm going to be calling it the CPU. Now, inside of any computer, whether it's a desktop like this one, a laptop, a phone, or any other computer, the CPU does all of the thinking for it. It can do basic math like 1 plus 1, or it can do more advanced things like encryption or even sometimes video rendering. Now, the CPU inside of this computer here is located underneath this black box. Inside of this black box are some metal fins that we can see on the side. These metal fins we call the heat sink, and the heat sink helps to take away the heat from the CPU because the CPU can get very hot doing all of the thinking. Now, the CPU inside of this computer here is called a Core 2 Duo, which I have an example of right here. Now, this Core 2 Duo, the duo in it means that it has two cores. Each core can do one set of thinking at a time. So with two cores, it can think about two things at once. For example, it can do 1 plus 1 and 2 plus 2 at the same time. Now, these Core 2 Duos were very popular back in the day. They are made by Intel, which is one of the largest CPU manufacturers in the world. These CPUs, when they were first released back in 2006 to 2008, cost about $200 to buy. The frequency of these CPUs is 3.16 gigahertz for this one in particular. Other Core 2 Duos do vary. Now, the frequency means how fast the CPU can think about certain things. The lithography in these CPUs is 45 nanometers. Now, the lithography, when we're talking about CPUs, means how small the gap is inside of each transistor. Now, the smaller the gap you can make, the more transistors that you can fit on a CPU. And the more transistors you can fit on a CPU, the more powerful it is.